The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary for the last 5 years. I am your host and superior web headmaster, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs, and we have some fun little offerings from CinemaCon here today before we jump into our discussion about Daredevil Born Again's episode this week. Very excited to get into the weeds with you guys on all of that. But I am not alone, as Travis trudges his way through busy season and will hopefully be back soon. We are yet again joined by our adjunct professor, Mitch692 of the Comic Book Cast and his own channel.
I was like, is he going to say the channel or is it just his own?
No, Mitch692, it's the name of the channel. I thought, I thought, you want to know what I thought you were doing? You want to know what I fully thought you were doing? And that's why I stopped speaking. I thought you had a can to crack. And
I clocked myself. I realized I was actually hiding it really well. And my plan was to have one. Yeah. And then you didn't finish, or there wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And it's like,
well, the channel is Mitch692, so that's why I was like,
I know it was
his
just
own channel.
It was just his own channel, like I was just
his own channel, Mitch692, and also I could have phrased that.
I was just expecting.
I'm so sorry to the people who listen to this show.
Who thought everyone just froze then?
Who thought everything froze? I'm sorry to everybody who watches the show on YouTube who also thought the video froze. But yeah,
I held out longer than I thought there actually.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. But yeah, like I said, CinemaCon stuff, Spider-Man news, both live or big screen versions of it. Superman, Fantastic Four, Daredevil, got lots to talk about. But before we jump into all of that, a word from our sponsors at Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse with their 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice ain't for you. And you could go ahead and up your Bloody Mary game with their award-winning pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus, and rim salt if you want to garnish that bad boy. This former bartender trusts only one Bloody Mary mix on this earth, and it is Sunday's Bloody Mary, the only Bloody Mary mix that can outpace a from-scratch Bloody Mary. If you would like to just completely change the Bloody Mary game in your life, use the link in the description down below and use the code TNAP, TNAP, at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. So, jumping into our first little bit of news here today. These are one of those, these are some of those stories, at least the MCU part of this, where it's like, there is not a whole lot of meat on the bone. But it's exciting.
You can sit there and just like, on it.
Yeah, you can gnaw on the bone, and the bone is tasty. But there's no meat. So, Marvel fans assemble. This is from the Marvel.com article. This week at CinemaCon 2025, fans can expect to get a sneak peek into some upcoming theatrical Marvel projects coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are all the Marvel announcements spinning out of CinemaCon. So first, Spider-Man 4 has a title. So Daniel Destin Cretton directing, Tom Holland and Sadie Sink starring. Marvel Studios' Spider-Man, Brand New Day, with an official release date of July 31st, 2026. Peter Parker launches into his next cinematic adventure in Spider-Man Brand New Day. The title of the highly anticipated Spider-Man No Way Home follow-up was revealed Monday night at CinemaCon to much fan fervor. Director Daniel Cretton, who previously worked on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, appeared on stage to provide fans with their first insights into Spider-Man Brand New Day. Quote, I'm spending my time exploring the next stage of this amazing character with a team of the most incredible artists in the world. We're all just daily nerding out over the suit, how to swing, how to create an event, an emotional story, and ride that we haven't really seen before. Spider-Man himself made a little appearance at the presentation too, with leading man Tom Holland addressing the audience via video to share his excitement about the upcoming project. So that's all we really have. So pausing here, Brand New Day in the comics, the follow-up to One More Day.
Well done for not confusing it with One More Day. Like the entire internet's done from what I've seen.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of that.
Which, in fairness, it's only a word different.
Yeah.
But when everyone's been screeching about One More Day for 20 years, when the O is suddenly removed from that, kind of like, well, hold on a minute, it's not the same thing, but clearly not.
So what do you make of this? Like what's your reaction to this? Like obviously like the typeface logo is it's evocative of the like kind of 2000s era, Spider-Man toys and like merchandise.
We were talking about this
around.
on CBC because we're doing I'm double dipping today. But
yeah, for those of you watching the episode, this is the logo I'm
Thursday.
referring to if you haven't seen it already.
Yeah, it's I want to say Tristan said it's the same guy. We couldn't remember what show it was. I think it was Ultimate Spider-Man, where the promo art was completely different to the animation style. Like everyone really loved the promo art, and the promo art is really good. But then you see the show, and it's like, it's not.
Ultimate, like the Drake Bell show.
I think so.
Where he was like a SHIELD agent and had like Nova and White Tiger.
I think it was for that one. It was not Ultimate Spider-Man. It was the one afterwards.
I mean, it was probably the one after, because the one after was clearly a follow-up to Ultimate because it was the same suit.
Yeah.
And a lot of art recently I really liked. In fact, I've joked about this a lot recently. I got addicted to the Dave and Buster's Spider-Man coin pusher game, and he uses that same art where it's like a little bit more MCU-y, but still very like rooted in comic book art style and like comic book kind of aesthetic sensibilities.
Yeah. Which cartoon had Miles, Spider-Gwen, and what's the brown-haired woman spider person? Black and white suit has the.
Oh, is that the one Sydney Sweeney played in Madam Web?
Well, I didn't see that movie, but I think so. But anyway, that I'm looking at the picture of that, and whichever cartoon that was, I'm pretty certain it's the art for that.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely that. Julia Carpenter.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the follow-up to Ultimate, where this was this art that like everybody's like referring to. It was like mid 2000s. Like if you can remember back to that one picture that was everywhere, it was like on posters all the time. I had it at one point where like it's every single Marvel Universe character, and they're standing on like the ground, and it's just like a big Marvel logo.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
just
Peter's like up front, like doing like a weird Spider-Man pose. That artist whose name escapes me, and I feel so bad about that. And I can't.
It might be the same one, actually.
I don't know how to Google 2000 Spider-Man artist and get what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
Right. There's a lot of people. That is
lot of there's a lot of fucking people that applies to. But it's that same like kind of art style and typeface. Yeah. So what do you make of this? Is this like does this change your perspective on some of like the rumors floating around at all?
No. I think this is a bait and switch, if anything. If it's not a bait and switch, it's just them being like, hey, this is going to be the Day trilogy now. You'll have Brand New Day, One More Day, and then Bad New Day because that capped off Brand New Day. And then of course One More Day will just be nothing like the comics, which
because that was already
obviously
No Way Home in a way,
exactly.
lightly
Mm.
adapted. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
I think it's more they're doing it. I think you can play about the idea that a Brand New Day, if it is a Battle World movie, this is a
Yeah. And for anybody tuning in and new here, we should refresh the speculation for what we now know is Spider-Man Brand New Day, what we were just calling Spider-Man 4 for the longest time, was that it was going to be a Battle World movie, that this was going to
mm,
take place in the, newly shaped Marvel universe by Doctor Doom after he inevitably wins in Avengers Doomsday.
mhm,
And that this would more than likely involve a plethora of other spider people.
mhm,
Um, you and I talked about, at least I was very much in the Mayday Parker Spider Girl camp for Sydney Sink. Whenever we talked about her being cast in the film, that was like where my brain went, because I was like, if it's Battle World, it's that. If it's
mhm,
not, it could be eight other things that
mm,
I could close my eyes and throw a dart at a dartboard and be just as likely to be right. But if it is Battle World, I feel confident in
mm,
Mayday Parker, potentially Spider Gwen. Like the odds on favorite is some form of Gwen Stacy, be it
mm,
like
mhm,
like not yet or not at all powered college crush, or powered Ghost Spider. Um, and time will tell on that.
mm.
So you don't. So this doesn't affect your like
Nah, not
prediction
at
on
all.
this at
No,
all.
no. But not that I'm setting my own expectations, and I'm not that I'm gonna ever hold them to it, but
Yeah,
I think they're gonna not right the wrong of Infinity War and Endgame, where they had that 5-year gap and
just
they
kind of
never
yada
did
yada
anything with
yada
it. It's
it.
just like, hey, here's 10 minutes of this. Thump, forget about it. I think with Secret Wars, you have to do that. I think
I
you
agree. I am
absolutely
inclined to
have
agree
to
with you.
have, especially when you have at least like, 2 movies is enough for me. I'd love a show or 2 in
Yeah, there
between.
and there could still very well be a show or
They're
two
very,
in between these
Vision
films.
Quest might very well be Vision and Quill. We don't know.
Yeah,
We just don't know that concept art could be for that show. We just don't know, and then they could be like, we have to do it this way. We need at least 5 things in between to really set the stage and just have a bit of fun with the whole idea. You had this multiverse stuff, and we've never really lived in anything. So just hey, it's MCU stuff running through a multiverse, or hey, it's multiverse in the MCU. Is that cool? But can we actually do something with this?
yeah.
That's not what if. That's not bottom of the barrel, like low hanging fruit stuff. Like if it's just make Spider-Man 4 a Spider Island thing where there's just spider people everywhere, and it's just another day for them. I don't need Peter Parker being like, "What's going on?" Like, I don't need any of that. I just need him. It's just like his normal thing.
See, that also introduces such an interesting wrinkle, is the like, how does everybody get their recollection of what is right back?
mm.
So like to spend an entire film just, oh god, I'm so torn. I'm so torn about what I want right now.
Because this thing, I wouldn't even end that movie with him remembering.
I just
I
I
don't
like
think you need. I think if you have him remember at the end of that movie, if the movie happens how I think it's going to happen, it devalues the entire thing.
or it's the or that gets to be the bellwether, that like he's the canary in the coal mine of like the sacred timeline heroes are starting to wake up.
Yeah, but then that just puts so much on this the sacred timeline people again. Like, I obviously it's going to happen because it's the MCU, it's the 616 and all that sort of stuff. But I need. I don't know. I want someone else to have that moment, not a Spider-Man.
See, that's the thing is I put so much stock in.
Everyone puts so much stock in Spider-Man, and I get it. I get it. There's
I
a
just put so
reason
much
why.
stock
I
in it
get it.
has to be Spider-Man to have the aha moment because I want it to come down to Peter and
But you can
Robert Downey
still
Jr.
have that moment. You can still come down to that. He just doesn't have to have that, aha, I'm going to go save everyone.
Sure. For me, what I'm torn about is I am like this has been my dilemma the whole time. And like now it's kind of like bubbling over for me now that like this movie feels real.
Mm.
You know, like they're shooting or they're about to be shooting this year. You know, we have a release date, we have a title, we have typeface on the title. You know, it's not just a name, it is like
Or at
here's a
least you have
logo, all
the
of that.
logo V1, right? It is
Yeah, we
Marvel.
will have yeah, yeah.
At least they're
But
paying interns, I guess.
yeah, but what like I am so torn and I think I am truly 50-50 on I don't know if I want this to be outside of the like direct multiverse story and I just want this to be Peter beginning to put his life back trying to figure out how to put his
Mm.
life back
But here's it,
together.
you can absolutely have that. Because there's nothing stopping them from being like, right, this can be a continuation of what we had, while also being a multiverse battle world story. The reason why Peter doesn't he doesn't have to remember anything is because nothing really has changed. He's still on that same thing, and that same path keeps him dumb to the situation.
I don't think that works. That doesn't
I
work for me. It's
absolutely,
like
you
fully being
absolutely made
fully
that work.
honest and like and I hear
Because
what you're
let's be honest
saying.
as well. Like just to jump in again quickly. Sorry,
No,
like
you're good.
with how Secret Wars has to end, with everything splitting and getting remade, and you have your multiverse or you don't have your multiverse, you can have arcs carry on. Hickman did the same thing. It's like, cool, well, this is going to happen here. Slight detour around this battle world, and then it's just going to carry on here. Like, nothing has to inherently stop. You can still carry that on. If he can learn this lesson here and then carry it on in this Spider-Man 5.
God, even saying Spider-Man 5 feels surreal. I love it. It makes me happy. But I don't know because there's a part of me that feels like you kind of have to like separate them out in some way. You
Because my
know,
thing,
that, like if he
the way
doesn't
I'm saying,
remember where he comes from, and if he doesn't remember that, like again, like let's say Battle World Manhattan that is now Spider Island. Again, provided that rumor is true, that it is Spider Island is the
which I'm very
baseline.
inclined to believe it's not true anymore, but neither here nor
So
there.
what do you think then? If it's not a battle world,
Oh no, I think it's a battle world. I just don't know if it's Spider Island.
okay. I mean, I just don't know what to make of it because, like I said, part of me wants this to like be like. There's a part of me that's like, you know,
Because ultimately,
I'm
like,
not.
all they'd be doing is the exact same thing. No Way Home done. They're just putting Tom in the different situation, not situation, but a different location. Like
Yeah,
everything for Tom is normal. It's the backdrop that's different. That's literally the only thing that would change if they did what I'm suggesting.
sure,
And
sure.
that little small things that are replaced, like Manhattan's just all the spider people. Like every spider variant we have is just, but there's Mary Jane or MJ is a spider person, Ned's a spider person, like Gwen, Betty, everyone's a spider person. You've got Silk, you got blah 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 blah, everyone, right? It's
For
just he
me,
then learns the lesson he needs to learn for this part of this character's arc in this situation, and it can still carry on going forward.
like the tightrope is I'm not I'm not one of the people who fundamentally believe that the life and times of Peter Parker need to be defined by just abject despair.
No,
There
but
are
that's
people who
why you have
believe
spiders, right?
well, sure, but like what I'm saying is like there are people who believe that the story of Peter Parker is one that should be defined by him constantly getting his legs kicked out from under him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, but to some degree, that is true. There is an element of the moment Peter is at his peak, something is going to knock him back down. Pre One More Day, pre all of that, like even when he was at his best, where he's married to Mary Jane and they're trying for a kid, like there would always be something that would kind of him out of the socket there. And I think there's a part of me that almost really is in love with the idea that the movie kind of maybe pulls an Ant-Man and the Wasp, where the ending is all holy hell breaking loose. And
I'm
then
going to be honest,
him on the precipice of going, you know what? Things are weird. Things are crazy. Things suck. I miss MJ. I miss Ned. I miss how my life was before. But I think I'm getting a handle on my brand new life. And then Battle World and all of that out of the fucking park, and it's gone forever. They're not gone forever, but gone for now. At least.
Sure. Sure. I feel the way you feel about what I said. It's like in the initial just spewing words at my face hole reaction.
Like I said, that's a maybe. Because again, I haven't made up my mind on what I want more. And I want to make it clear, and you alluded to this, and this is something I said on Pro Noob all the time with Evangelion. I think that expectation and speculation and want need to be graded or need to not be a part of the grading rubric for this film. And I think a lot of people who talk about cape shit on the internet need to start.
My idea is the best thing ever. It has to be this, otherwise it's bad.
Shouts out to Force Center. Like I say all the time, speculate responsibly.
I just watched that episode.
How'd you like it?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. I know
the show's still bad. Don't get me wrong, but
okay, calling Andor bad is a fucking stretch. For fuck's sake. Anyway, maybe drop my pen that I was using to guide my thoughts. But no, and like I said, I think there's a level of I want this to be a grounded street level story. People need to prepare for the fact that whether you like the multiverse saga or not, this is part of the path to the climax of it. So there's a chance this is more Peter interacting with the spider people of creation in its entirety. And I think for the people who want this to be Spider-Man No Way Home Part 2, more spiders boogaloo, need to prepare for the fact that this could be Peter fighting fucking Shocker for a whole movie, for all we know. And maybe it ends
the fun
and how
part
it ties
is,
in.
The absolutely fun part is it can be both.
It could be both.
And it should be both. It has to be both.
And I would like to see how it does both. I personally can't quite see it and wrap my brain around it.
I put that down to how poorly multiverse stuff has been handled in media. Like people can't think outside of the multiverse box because we've only ever been shown this horrendously simple idea of it. So hey, here's Patrick Stewart in a yellow chair this time. Yay! Here's Cumberbatch in a light blue suit as opposed to dark blue suit. Here's this one side character you saw 5 movies ago. She's now wearing a different colored version of this character's suit. Like they haven't done.
I disagree with you on that. I really do disagree. I think that the egregious multiverse stuff for the most part has happened outside of the MCU for the most part.
I mean, sure, but Marvel hasn't. I just think they've been lazy with it.
Well, I think there's only so much you can do in the confines of film with that. Like, unless you're going to commit to every single movie in the MCU for what 5, 6, 7 years being everything everywhere all at once.
I don't think
Like
you need that to have this thing turn out slightly better.
I
don't
just
think you need. I think you can do how they've done it, where you can have it show up in places, and I think that's probably the best way to do it. I just think their idea of a multiverse for this has been the low hanging fruit.
I mean, I see what you mean. I just, for me, I think that they've used it in a storytelling way very potently. I think that they have explored and have not in a disjointed way, but in a like real world complex way tackled the idea of autonomy and tackled the idea of predestination and choice and agency with a lot of this. When again, I understand, and I've known you long enough to know that, when you say here's Doctor Strange in 3 different colored outfits, I know that you're being reductive, and I know that you know this. I know that you're being reductive on purpose to be funny.
I will say I'm just being reductive because it is true.
Well, but to a certain extent, though, like look at something like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Like, sure, there's that make the crowd clap. Here's John Krasinski as Reed, so we never have to do this again. And here's
That was the
Captain
best
Carter.
use of the multiverse they've done. Here's your fan cast. Shut up, he sucks.
Again, I don't think he sucks. I
Yeah,
don't think he has it. Again, I don't think that there's enough meat on the bone other than the look, but that's its own conversation.
Look, I was on the Krasinski wagon. I was there from near enough day one. He would have been a miss. He was a miss.
Sure,
5
sure.
minutes on that.
But when you look at the like the multiple Doctor Stranges throughout the film, a lot of it is exploring how Steven consistently across all of reality is kind of enslaved to his
Sure.
his
And don't get me wrong,
desires.
I adored that movie. I adore his arc in that
paints,
movie.
and I think it paints a very beautiful picture about a man trying to come to grips with the fact that like he is still obsessed with trying to control everything around him.
Yeah, 100%.
What If explores that, Multiverse of Madness explores that he is constantly trying to bend reality to how he wants it to be, and he simply can't do that. And he, in doing that, but on somebody else's behalf, becomes infected with the dark magic of the Darkhold. Like, that is a really compelling arc for him. In the same way that No Way Home, I think, tells a very beautiful story about how hardship is inevitable. Loss, tragedy is inevitable. What matters is the ways that you pick yourself up and keep moving forward. I think it was very auspicious that the 3 spider people that we've had on live action scale in age so perfectly to go, here is a very young man, here is a fully grown man, still pretty young, and here's an older man. I'm not calling Toby old. Huh?
Toby's old.
Well, I'm not saying he's an old man, but it's like teenager, late 20s, early 30s, depending on like canonically.
You have a version of Spider-Man that everyone is there. It's someone's version of Spider-Man is in that movie.
Someone's version of Spider-Man is in that movie, but it's also like it's also showing that like whatever is crushing you right now, be it the pressure of your identity being out there, be it the pressures of being Spider-Man and wanting to save these villains from themselves, be it the debilitating blow that was the death of Aunt May, you will get through this because we got through this. And you see varying levels of success in Tom, who is in his darkest moment, who's trying to like come to grips with what's happening around him. Andrew, who kind of lost his way because of that fundamental loss, and Toby, who arguably, just because we've gotten more movies of him, has lost more than all of them, but is in a better place than any of them as well. He's happy. Heavily implied he's married to Mary Jane. This is the same man who had to lose a mentor father figure in Norman Osborn, lost a mentor figure in Otto Octavius. His best friend was killed. He nearly destroyed his life because of the symbiote. And whoever knows how many other trials and tribulations that Peter Parker went through after defeating the symbiote and rekindling his relationship with Mary Jane. So like I do think, and obviously Loki, Loki and all of that.
From an arc standpoint, yes, the individual parts have and are good. Right. It's just the concept of the multiverse itself. What's the best word for it? I was just gonna say Dookie, but I don't believe it's Dookie.
You just think it's underdeveloped, and that's fair. That's fair.
It's not even underdeveloped. Even though yes, it is. It's just conceptually, it's not as interesting as it should be, and it's Marvel. Marvel have literally like 15 characters that are concepts that deal with reality and multiverses and laws of nature, all this stuff, and we've seen one for 8 seconds.
I hear you. And again,
Sure, they can come in Secret Wars. I'd be nutting all over the place if they do.
I think Doomsday and Secret Wars is the time to really get into that weird element. That is like that hard sci-fi
multiverse
time.
of madness. Like you could so easily have just slipped in like order and chaos. What better time would there have been to have those two characters show up when you literally have the Scarlet Witch and Chaos Magic? You have Cthulhu and the Darkhold, Chaos Magic. You have Doctor Strange, Madness, Chaos. Like obviously it's different chaos, order and chaos, but but they should have been in that movie.
Sure. I'm not saying you're wrong. I hear your take, and I don't disagree with you fundamentally. I just feel like there is. I think I am slightly more sympathetic to it on that front. But
missed opportunity is probably the best word for it.
Sure. Keeping it in the multiverse here for a moment.
That was brand new day.
Back to the Marvel.com article. It all ends here. Miles Morales returns to the big screen in the highly anticipated conclusion to the Oscar-winning Spider-Verse trilogy, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. Filmmakers Phil Lord, Bob Persichetti, Justin K. Thompson took the stage to give audiences an exclusive glimpse into the upcoming film. Fans can catch a look at the multiverse-spanning adventure featuring Miles, Gwen, and Prowler in the gallery below. Filmmaking trio has also announced the movie's new theatrical release date of June 4th, 2027. I know some people were like, God damn, I hate that I have to wait this long. I'm fine with it because that extra lead time gives the artists to not be sweating bullets up.
I mean, they absolutely will be sweating bullets, but
they will be, but hopefully less bullets. Real quick, taking us through the art gallery for this. We got a shot of Miles and like a tattered suit here.
I'm going to be honest here. I know they said about like they're doing different techniques. If any of them are in here, these are bad pictures for it.
I agree because they do look very consistent with the other stuff.
And I know full well a lot of it's going to be animation techniques. So a key part of that is not in stills, but they look fantastic.
It looks remarkable. I'm very excited for it. Happy to see Miles, getting ready to go into battle in his Jordans. But yeah, like I said, not a whole lot of meat on the bone other than very, very excited for this.
I would love to know what the thinking was for announcing the release date for this movie like 3 years ago.
I think they thought they could get it done sooner, and I think a lot of the controversy around how Beyond got, about how Across kind of got, it turned into a bit of a sweatshop, made them go, okay, we're just going to take 5 years to make this time.
See, I don't know if I buy it. I think that's the optimistic outlook. I hope that's the case. I don't buy it.
That is what I choose to think, and that is not before that is not because I think Lord and Miller, who are given all the credit for these movies, I think unfairly.
Yeah.
You know, I do not think that was because of an act of charity on their part. Again, inside baseball, I am not privy to share aloud. I've heard about how much of a bastard those two were with Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I
I can
understand,
imagine.
like,
Yeah.
I understand, like, you know, you lost Star Wars and things weren't working and you're upset about it. That's one thing. I heard there
So
was some.
Solo.
I've heard there were some real motherfuckers, and I'm not
Mm.
even going to acknowledge it.
You tried so hard. You saw it. Just that. If there's ever a moment Jarod would go more Wilson Fisk, it was right there.
This bitch.
Anyway,
None of the clips are what I'm fishing for.
what?
None of these clips are what I'm fishing for.
No. Are you sick of being called a grifter?
I'm sick of being called a grifter.
You
Anyway.
can't play him now because it loses all meaning.
Yeah, I know, but like I said, I never played that clip enough. It's so fun. It's so fun. It's one of those, like, I never get to use it. That's why I love it. Other CinemaCon stuff. There was new footage for Superman.
Yes.
Cards on the table. I did not watch it. I did not plan on watching it. I think from this point on, I'm going to pull a dear friend of mine, Michael McCoy. I got one trailer. That's enough for me. I'm not watching shit.
Have you even had a trailer?
Huh?
Has it even been a trailer?
I mean, that teaser we got, like, right at the end of the year last year.
That's a teaser. It's not a trailer.
I know, but I think that's all for me. It's a trailer.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair.
I think that's all I want going in. I just know that, like, I will tear it apart, not in like a negative way, but I am going to, like, deconstruct it and look for everything.
Mhm.
And I don't want to do that with this with this Superman movie.
I'll be honest. Yeah, it's everything you've already seen.
Yeah, and like I said, I saw like a couple seconds of it. I saw that, I guess it's like, and like more of the crypto take me home and crypto kind of hopping around and some
I don't think it's a whole sequence of events that go to that bit, but if it's edited like it, you know, when they take like two scenes in the trailer and they just make it seem like one, like it's an extended look at that, and then everything else is just, hey, here's the scissor reel from before.
Yeah, like I said, I'm good on that. I'm good because here's my thing. I know already that I'm going to fall back into my fine-tooth comb trailer watching ways with Doomsday and Mandalorian and Grogu. That, like,
You want something.
I know that I'm going to go to that place inevitably with those two movies. I also know that come time for Spider-Man Brand New Day, I also know I might watch two trailers and then stop because Sony will tell me the whole fucking movie.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So I'm going to avoid that like the plague. But
unless we have a repeat of Far From Home.
Sure.
Where that's kind of like, hey, was it Far From Home that was after Endgame?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Wow, my recollection of time is horrendous. But yeah, you know, they held off on those trailers and everything, and at least until.
Yeah. Well, because they knew they couldn't talk at all about the main thrust of the plot without spoiling Endgame.
I'm pretty certain we'll get that again.
Cool. I hope so. Quick other detour towards Fantastic Four First Steps. Piece came out today in Empire. Fantastic Four First Steps is a 60s space race movie shot the way Kubrick would have made it, by John Nugent over at Empire. In the very near future, Marvel's first family will finally come home. It is just 4 months until Fantastic Four First Steps debuts, the culmination of a long-held desire of Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige to bring the iconic superhero team into the Marvel Cinematic Universe fold. But in order to realize this film, the film is going to go back into the past, setting it in an alternate retro futurist strand of the multiverse. That was hard to fucking say. An alternate mid 20th century where Art Deco and sci-fi rub shoulders, and as Empire's exclusive pictures show, before they became the Fantastic Four, the gang, Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal, Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby, Ben Grimm, Ibn Mas Baccarat, and Johnny Storm, played by Joe Quinn, were simply four extremely clever and capable astronauts. Got a State Farm ad with Jimmy Fallon's fucking face. Were simply four extremely clever and capable astronauts who embarked on a perilous mission into space and accidentally gained superpowers in the process. The film, says director Matt Shakman, is looking to evoke the optimistic spirit of the 50s and 60s. This is very much about the spirit of the space race, says Shakman. It's about JFK and optimism. It's imagining these four going into space instead of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. This idea is that they are the most famous people in America because they're adventurers, explorers, astronauts, not because they're superheroes. And when they come back and they're superheroes on top of it, but primarily they're astronauts, they're family. Shakman, whose previous credit in the MCU was directing the similarly retro WandaVision, lost my place, was to keep the film, was keen to make the film feel plucked from that time, or at least a fantasy MCU version of it. Quote, I really wanted to go with as grounded a version of space as possible, unquote, he says. Quote, no wormholes. Their tech is very retro future, but it's also booster rockets. It's a combination of Marvel and Apollo 11, unquote. That philosophy extended into how the film itself was made. I really wanted it to feel like it was made in 1965, the way Kubrick would have made it, says Shakman. Quote, within reason. There is, he says, an emphasis on practical sets and props. The production included 14-foot tall spaceship miniatures, similar to how Kubrick used minis in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And Shakman's team have used old lenses and taken an approach to filmmaking that feels more of the time. Of course, we still have a lot of CG. This film, it's clear, will feel different from other MCU entries. Significantly, it exists separate from everything we've seen in the franchise so far. Quote, we are our own universe, says Shakman, which is wonderful and liberating. There's really no other superheroes. There's no Easter eggs. There's no running into Iron Man or whatever. They're in it. They're in it in this universe. I love the interconnected Marvel universe, but we got to do something so new and different. Eventually, this world will meet up with the other worlds. But for now, this is our little corner.
I really like that.
Yeah, I do too. I like it that it didn't feel. Now let's talk about Andor. In the way that a lot of the Tony Gilroy, no cameos, no Easter eggs, fuck you and your space wizards, you little fucking baby. You know, like, you know, or the way that's how it was presented in the media.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that they're like, no, like this is our space, so this space is about them. Now, I also think these are one of those moments where I do get a little bit annoyed, and it's not necessarily with the filmmakers so much as it's with the nature of the discourse. Because when you say there are no Easter eggs, that's a fucking lie. Because nobody knows what the fucking Easter egg is anymore. I've heard motherfuckers say that Luke blowing up the Death Star is an Easter egg reference. Sure. If you don't know how to fucking read, maybe.
What would it be a reference to?
Fuck you. I don't know. But
wow, people just say words, don't they?
People just be saying shit, bro.
The ability to speak, yeah, blah 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 blah.
Man, you know it's bad when it's Mitch quoting Qui-Gon, not me. Something went horribly wrong when this guy is quoting Qui-Gon Jinn.
I'm tired and I forgot it was Qui-Gon. That's my excuse. There you go.
But yeah, no, look, so I do like the fact that they're like, this is our thing, and we're very excited about this maybe being what you've been asking for. You know, here's the multiverse, here's a reality where shit's different, shit's real different. You know, so there you go. So I do like that. I also like the minis. You know, like I'm not one of those people who get weird about the use of CGI. I think that it's kind of arbitrary. I think
especially because you know people don't notice it. Everyone that complains about CGI never noticed it once, unless it's like horrendously bad. or it's something that isn't inherently bad, but it looks stupid, i.e., a floating head.
Yeah.
Right. Dumb idea. The CGI itself wasn't horrendous. It was
Yeah,
just
I
a
don't. Yeah,
stupid idea to do.
yeah. And
No,
again, you guys can call me the thought police all you want. I have
I would
sheathed.
never. I would
I have
never say those words.
I have sheathed my sword on the MODOK argument because I'm just tired of fighting with people and going, does it look dumb? Yes. Is it necessarily a great design? No.
This is my thing. MODOK's design so good because it's just fucking MODOK.
Well, that's the thing. I don't hate it. I think it
Yeah.
looks fine. I get why people are like, oh, this looks like shit. And people are like, oh, look at this shitty CGI. And it's like, no, you're being fucking disingenuous.
No,
Not
because
great.
the CGI on MODOK's actually really fucking good. It's
agree.
just a giant fucking face.
Yes.
It looks weird. It's like, oh, faces aren't supposed to be that fucking big.
Yeah. You're dealing with the uncanny valley, not bad CGI.
100%.
This film, it's clear, will feel different to other MCU entries. Significantly exists separate from everything we've seen in the franchise so far. Around universe. Oh, I already read that part. I thought it was reiterating that. That a visual meetup will come in Doomsday. We know that. So yeah. So the exclusive pictures, there's only a couple, but they're very exciting.
Yeah.
And I will say,
it's really nice that Marvel supporting the pre-grad interns with that poster, because
yeah, so we'll look at that. So the images, I will say I haven't been super sold on Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm until this exact.
No, until now. Wow, that's interesting. See,
Like, it wasn't one of those like I was like, oh, I'm sure he'll do great. I just like, I was like, I haven't been sold by the look yet. This looks like Johnny Storm to me. Like, this is Johnny Storm right fucking here, man. I don't know what it is about. Maybe I'm getting to see more of his hair, and I'm like, yeah, that, and that's what's getting me. But
I just don't buy him as it. I've yet to see the movie. Shock, but yeah. I'm hoping he wins me over. I didn't like him in Stranger Things. That's the only thing I've seen him in.
And then here's the other picture with Thing and Reed.
Look at him. Look at him.
Looking good. Looking good.
I really like, and this is such a ironic thing to say for comic book movies. I like how you could just throw those pictures out there, and it's not a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah. But yeah, and then also, like I said, we got another poster. Nothing too crazy there. Keep moving along here. Is that all we have for news? I think it is. Which will bring us into Daredevil talk. Mitch, how you feeling about this episode this week? I
really like this episode. I like that everything's just unraveling. I like that Fisk is in his that era. Like, you know what? I'm going to skirt the rules. Fuck this one guy in particular.
You know what word I would use to describe this episode?
No.
One single word: swagger. This episode is dripping in swagger. And I don't necessarily mean from the characters, I mean from the confidence in the writing. You know,
which is nice to hear as you talk about, you know, the structure and the writing of it is actually really good, because you get people being like, oh, you can tell it's 2 episodes put together. Like, no. Only if you can. So it's a good episode, right?
Who cares? You know, again, that's another thing with me and the whole CGI thing. I don't care if it looks goofy. What did the story make me feel?
Because you all know it's fake anyway.
Yeah, I'm here for what this is about, not how it looks. How it looks is great and is important, but like, I'm here for the story and I'm here for the characters. But no, I think this episode had such a swagger to it. You know, I think that, you know, I talked about this with Alden, because I've been watching the episodes like a couple days after they come out. Just because, like, you know, a lot of the times you end up recording Pro and Noob when they're dropping, or I'm watching or doing something else with Taylor while they're dropping, and she needs to rewatch Daredevil season 1 and season 2. and watch season 3. She never got around to season 3 because like Daredevil was a show with her dad, and by the time season 3 had come out, he had passed away, and she couldn't quite return to it yet.
Totally fair.
So yeah, and I was like, and I wasn't gonna rush her into it. She's like, you can watch this one without me. I was like, okay, cool. But
I wasn't going to rush her, but you can watch it. Okay, cheers.
thank you.
No hesitation in between. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
I mean,
sure?
see,
Like,
now I have been like, come on, honey, we gotta watch Andor. And I got far enough into Andor.
that's
with
just
her
mean.
Where
You did that with
fuck off, Jesus Christ.
Whoop whoop.
Go
Is what
fuck
I
off.
would say to bring it back. I've never once said thought police in my life.
Fucking dickhead. God, Diaz wasn't enough. God damn it.
No.
Anyway,
Do you know what? There was a time when you. Oh, it was actually not that long ago. Just to go in my personal thoughts on Jarod, I was like, he tells me to fuck off a lot. Like, am I pushing it? Am I pushing it? And then I started watching more, and I was like, no, he says it to everyone. It's totally fine. I'm gonna carry on.
let me take the temperature here. Don't worry. I am very good at once the line has been crossed in a very calm, like serene way, going, hey, I know you well enough to know you didn't mean it like this. But
and every time you say that, it makes me laugh.
This is how it made me feel. I would like this to stop. That's how I handle that kind of thing. You will know. You will know if you cross the line with me.
I hope so, because part of me is fishing for it. But
thanks, buddy. Thank you.
I have to know. I have to know people's limits,
just so you can find the boundary. I respect it. But I was talking to Alden, and he because our friend Trey, and I haven't had him back on the show to talk about Daredevil just because I know he hasn't been loving it, and I don't like. And part of me was like, I don't want to, because I know how much Daredevil means to him, and how much this show even existing means to him.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't want to drag him out to kind of have to live in not loving the show and have to talk about it. So I was like, I'm not gonna bother him. Maybe he'll come on for the finale or a season discussion. I'm not going to bug Trey about this. I don't want to make him feel bad.
That's unfortunate that he's not overly hot on it. Or that sucks.
Yeah, and I hope that changes once we have the season in its totality. Just for him, because I know how much it means to him. But Alden and I were talking about it as well. And he had mentioned, and he was like, he's like, I respectfully disagree with Trey. He's like, I think he's like, I've been really liking it so far. And, whenever I was speaking with Alden, I said, my only concern for this season has been what we talked about last week, was the fact that I feel like the Matt becoming Daredevil again has started about 3 times and happened 3 times already.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's just comics, right? Everything's only got one story. There is like one plot in comics.
I mean, for me, it was like it felt like a couple false starts and false endings to that. Where like Matt's temptation and Matt's desire and calling to become Daredevil felt really well executed. For me, it was, well, he's gonna beat up the crooked cops. And then he's going to help with the bank robbery. And then he's going to train on the rooftop. And then after all that, it still feels like it's a brand new decision to him when he says, fuck it, to go do it anyway. Like it's still like that has been my thing, is that like, it felt like we kept getting, is Matt ready to become Daredevil again? A bunch of times. And then it happened in a way that felt anticlimactic after I saw him training off in the, because once I saw him training on the rooftop and he had the billy clubs back in his hands and we got that money shot of all the cowls, I was like, oh, cool. Like, he's like, you know what? The devil's work is never done. I'm back, baby. Cool. And then he stopped. Or then at the very least, he's like, again, it's that fuck it. I feel like that fuck it hits so much harder if we either don't have the bank robbery thing, or or it's just bank robbery and then there's no training on the rooftop, or if there's training on the rooftop, if there's like bank robbery and then training on the rooftop, and then he puts on the suit without fuck it, because like fuck it felt like he's going, I'm tired of debating this. Because to me, it's like, well, you haven't been debating this. You've just been having your cake and eating it too. You're just committing. And the fuck it didn't feel like him finally committing. It felt like him going, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm even making sense remotely.
No, I get what you're saying. I think you could take exactly that and exactly what we've had, stretch out those moments throughout the season.
If they happen further apart, it would have even worked for me. Yes,
because then you get that impression that it's like trying to quit smoking, where you get like your choice or whatever. If you don't go cold turkey, like the patches or the gum, it's like he's doing this out of habit. He's not acting on it. He's doing this out of habit. The fuck it is just that, you know what? What's the point?
Yeah,
I've got no gun, but I've got a pack of 20. No, I'm just gonna have a ciggy. No. That's I think how they want it to feel. I think it should have been spread out. If I had a criticism of the show, it is that.
Yeah, and then that was my thing that I told Alden. I was like that, and then it just feels like there's a lot of plates spinning right now, plot wise. And that's not to say I think it's too much, and I don't think they can meaningfully bring them home or extend them into the next season.
But this is the thing that they're not. It is going to be. We're going to have a mid-season cliffhanger here. It's 1 and 2, sure, but this is 1A, 1B.
Again, sure. But for me, it was like, just looking at all the plot threads we have, and granted, a lot of these all kind of come back to Mayor Wilson Fisk, but at the end of the day, like, they are still all separate. So you have Fisk Criminal Empire, what's going to happen? Fisk and Vanessa in therapy. Muse, Anti-Vigilante Task Force, Punisher still out there floating around. Matt questioning whether or not he wants to be Daredevil anymore. Matt and, the Daredevil and Muse stuff. What's happening at the docks, which is related to other ones, but it's still like something that keeps being like specifically retread. I was like, there's a lot of things happening here. Matt's personal life, how is that being affected by the Daredevil stuff? There's a lot of like individual plates that are all connected, yes. But like, I'm like, okay, which one of these has to go somewhere? And this episode had so much fucking swagger to it, where it almost felt like it was responding to the audience. And I know that it's not, but it almost felt like it went, oh yeah, it's 2 different shows spliced together. Look how confident we are in our writing here to make bold moves like the death of Muse. Like that moment of teeing up, making it feel like Vanessa was double crossing Fisk for Buck to pop him and for Fisk to be like, hey, Vanessa, want any food? Like that, like that had so much swagger to it. The way that the police have that moment, the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, where they like hold up Muse's mask like it's a severed head of an animal. That like this show, like it just felt so confident in itself that like my like, oh man, how are they going to handle all these spinning plates kind of fell away. Where I was like, okay, because part of that is the biggest plot thread that I was worried about disrupting the Wilson Fisk of it all got beautifully resolved, in a much more compact time than I thought they could. That I was surprised that we really only got like 2.5 episodes of straight Muse stuff, if that. That surprised me. I thought it would require more. And if it didn't, I would have thought that I would have been let down by it. But I was like, no, this is actually perfect.
Muse is
What
a
were you
very
saying?
interesting case because it's my initial thing was like that was really quick. Like, why have we done this? And it's like, oh, the guy's literally called Muse. Inspiration, if you didn't get it.
Yeah, and again, I think that could absolutely be a thing. Is it Muse copycats?
Mm.
I'd be excited by that. You know, like that would be really fun.
Give me like
I'd love
8
it.
different Muses in season 2.
There's a there.
Mm.
I think there's a there.
Mm.
You know, that was really exciting. I was like I said, I just really liked this episode. You know, I had a great time with it. I thought it moved at a great pace. The tension with Kirsten and Muse during the session,
Oh,
you
I love
know, that was one thing that the whole time I was like, this whole show, I've been like, when are we going to see that again? Because we see Bastion, you know, talk about, you know, I'm looking for a therapist, and then it goes away. You know, if there's one criticism I might have about the Kirsten stuff, it's that I really wish they did more with her, you know, with her wanting to write this book about the psychology of masks. I wish that has been I wish that would have been explored more.
I feel like that's something you need after this Muse plot, though. I feel like that's really going to push that bit along.
I mean,
Because it's like proper first-hand experience, right? Obviously, it's not a good experience, but
no. But I would have really liked to have seen her kind of have this, like, I don't know. I think it could have introduced a very interesting tension to have Kirsten kind of in the way she does with Matt, where she's like, "Hey, I know you know Daredevil, and I know you know Frank Castle. You know, maybe put me in the same room." You know, and Matt ducking it, and we have the tee up of her kind of sinking her teeth into Bastion at the book signing, and kind of having a moment of, "Oh, I can tell looking at you, you're a little fucked up little guy. You're a weird little dude. Yeah, I'll talk to you, you fucking weirdo." You know,
that's just
which
every therapist to every other person. Though.
sure. But like, there's the way it's presented with her. You know, I think that Kirsten may have had an angle to her where she is compelled by understanding a disturbed human mind in the same way that like a journalist will almost gleefully go into a dangerous situation because like the story is the most important thing. For her, it's like the understanding is the most important thing, and she kind of gets like a thrill out of it.
Do you
And you
think
could
with
lend
that?
and you could lend that to like, hey, I want to talk to people like the Punisher, you know, and then she has this engagement with Muse that goes horribly wrong. She nearly dies. You know, there's some really unsettling subtext about the way that she's held hostage. And, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that's what's implied to have happened, but like the subtext to evoke those feelings are there. And, you know, it climaxes with her killing him, and now she's part of the story. And what does this represent? What does this mean? And now she still wants to understand it, but not because she's enthralled by it, but because she's freaked the fuck out by it. And how does that affect her relationship with Matt for when she inevitably learns the truth that he is one of the biggest man or mask people in the world? But what were you about to say? Sorry.
I say, do you think that is going to lead to her being a Muse or being Muse? So I think you could really the whole wanting to understand angle thing, and the way she just casually goes bump. There's no hesitation, there's no shaky hand, it's just bump.
I don't know. I think it could
And
go either
wanting
way.
to meet Daredevil as well, like getting to that point, she puts that on for multitude different reasons.
Maybe. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it at all. I would not hate that angle. I think it's going to take some very deft screenwriting and some ass acting off to sell it.
Because obviously between
Because
now and like you haven't got to do it straight away in the second season or even this season, but you can have something else happen that just
yeah.
that
No,
just
for
keep
sure.
pushing.
I also was surprised by the way that they're holding on so tight to Kirsten knowing Matt's secret. You know, because like, and again, this doesn't mean necessarily saying like I want them to give her an obvious tell that she knows. I was just surprised by how close to the vest they're playing it. Especially because what Matt says after they fuck in the shower. When they're getting ready, getting out of bed, and they have their conversation where Matt's talking about like, yeah, I get involved in some rough and tumble stuff sometimes, and my life around me feels fake because everything is so different now, and he's trying to explain all that, and then he inexplicably shows up, and she's like, "Did Daredevil say my name?" And Matt's all cagey and weird, and you're a trained psychiatrist, his weird evasion around the Daredevil questions and his profession, his day job, and the way that he kind of, kind of sidesteps it in such a way to not perjure himself. I was surprised that they didn't at all play more with what does she know?
Yeah.
What has she figured out? That surprised me.
I think
again,
I'd
do you
assume
think-
if anything, that's like at least the earliest next episode. Obviously, because it's the next episode. But I feel like that's something that comes up after something like this.
I think so too. And like I said, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. It's just one of those like I'm surprised they didn't do more with that almost immediately. Is the tension of is Kirsten on to him? And if not, what will it take?
Has to be.
She has to be.
There's no way she's not. Which then
but
you know you could even be you could just pull the rug out and she was a Muse all along, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
I just really like that angle.
I love that angle. Love that angle. The more and more I'm thinking about it, the more and more I want that to be the case. But yeah,
it feels very similar to something else, and I can't think what it is. What it feels similar to right now. It's fucking PS5 Spider-Man, isn't it? It's Cup Woman.
Wraith.
That's the one. Yeah. I was trying to think of it. Right? Was it
it's
Watanabe? It's kind of more along that.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah. It's a little Yuri Watanabe. It's a little Harley Quinn. Like I see the vision and I like it a lot. I like that angle more and more as we talk about it. But yeah, is there anything else you want to hit on this one?
I want them to not hurry up. It's not the right word. I want a White Tiger back. I want them to at least have that conversation that she is the next White Tiger.
I do too. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a post credit.
I will be upset if it's a post credit. I need that before the end of the season.
My instinct.
I don't even need her in. I don't need her in a suit. I don't even necessarily need her to have the amulet. I just need the start of that nugget trail. Just give me something, anything. It's been like, hey, can I have the pendant?
Yeah.
I can't remember if she's actually got it or if it's like evidence at this point. But like, hey, that's technically mine. Can I have it, please?
Yeah. No, I'd like that a lot.
Then we end season 2 with a little White Tiger Daredevil team up.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yes. But yeah, I think that's all we got for this one, guys.
I think it might be.
All righty. Mitch, where can the lovely people find you and what you do, my man?
There, anywhere, wherever it is, I don't know. You can see it. I can't see it. I can see it. Yeah, that way. What way he's pointing? That way. You can find me right there on the Mitch 692 YouTube channel. I almost pulled a Jarod and said Mitch 692 YouTube channel, but that's not the case. Just channel. But you can find Pro and Noob on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern. I think yes, Jarod knows more than me. And I schedule it every week without forgetting once. But recording that information. But yeah, that's going to be it for on the channel for the time being. I am going to have something else, hopefully this month, coming out. I haven't decided exactly what it's going to be yet, but something's cooking. I can promise you that.
Oh
So go
yeah,
subscribe and find out what it is.
like and subscribe and find out what it is.
Mhm.
You guys can find me over on Ionized Bastards. We should be recording an episode this coming week, which should be releasing on this coming Friday. Check out Epic Confrontations, the Star Wars in a Galaxy trivia show. I have a match coming up against Scotty Holiday. Very excited to play against them. If you haven't seen it yet already, go check out the latest episode of Knights of the Nerd Republic I did with dear friend of the show, Alden Diaz, and his co-host on Anytime with Ken and Alden, the legendary Ken Knapsack.
Good episode.
Ken gets weird when you give him his flowers in public. I think
I noticed.
he is humble to a fault.
Yeah.
He had his one, like I said, man in the garden moment, I think on Bombad Cast or Anytime, where he was like, listen, we're the best fucking Star Wars podcast. And everybody watching went, we all fucking agree. And it's true. Him, Joseph Scrimshaw, Jennifer Landa are the best in the space. Hands down, bar none. Unfortunately, they're not complaining about ladies with lightsabers or Star Wars being woke or doing the lowest common denominator. Did you notice this lightsaber is an Easter egg to Star Wars and the Star Wars show?
So literally unwatchable is what you're saying. Unlistenable.
Huh? Yeah.
Unlistenable, unwatchable.
Yeah.
That's sorry, Ken.
Yeah. So if you're around these parts and you're not keeping up with Force Center and the blathering and Anytime, fix that. But if you haven't listened to it already, go ahead and check out the episode we did on the internal and external politics of Star Wars Andor. It was a very fun conversation. It facilitated me rewatching Andor ahead of the second season. Yeah, I had a wonderful time with that episode, and it was, like I said, an honor to finally get to sit down with Ken. Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati versus Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker should be coming out next week. Should. Barring acts of God. Should. So stay tuned for that at the on the Patreon. Speaking of our Patreon, $5 tier gets you access to the Knights of the Nerd Republic Versus series, and $10 patrons get shouted out at the end of the episode. So thank you to Paco, thank you to Ray Clausen, and thank you to Brennan Marr from Patreoners They Were Not, who I have forgotten to shout out for quite some time now because I didn't realize you were subscribed to the Patreon at the $10 tier, and because Patreon refuses to give me notifications about who subscribed to the Patreon anymore. So my bad for that one. I suck. But thank you all so very much for watching. Be sure to check out the Nerd Academy podcast wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube to watch the video version. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you for joining us, and class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!